Hey there, storytellers! Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a challenge I saw over on Jessethereader's channel. So if you want to see his video, I went ahead and linked that down below. Go ahead and check that out. But it is the Save One, Drop One challenge. Essentially, it is what it sounds like, and I'm going to be picking from a assortment of books I have generated for myself here in my Treat Yourself mug and putting them against each other. To make the challenge a little bit more difficult for myself, I did what Jesse did over in his channel and picked books that I really enjoyed and were sort of up there in my favorites to sort of make it harder to decide which one I'm going to save and which one I'm going to drop. Without any further ado, let's get right on into picking out some books. Gonna need a good shuffle. Okay, so first up we have The Perks of Being a Wallflower. For those who haven't read this novel by Stephen Chbosky, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, I'm sorry. It follows freshman high schooler Charlie along his freshman year, and throughout the course of the novel, Charlie is dealing with the loss of his best friend, as well as some new challenges that come along with being in high school for the first time. In addition to that, Charlie is working through some of his past demons, although he does not necessarily realize it at the time. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a really intense, emotional, poignant, heartwarming and heart-crushing kind of story. It's a really fantastic novel. It is written in letters, for those who don't know. Charlie is writing to an anonymous pen pal. Okay, trying to just get one. And we have Caraval. I don't actually own the physical copy of Caraval, so to stand in its place, we have the second book in the trilogy, Legendary. Caraval is by Stephanie Garber. It is a fantasy novel wherein our main heroine, Scarlet, follows her sister and an invitation to the legendary game of Caraval. It takes place on a private island and there are absolutely no rules. The big crux of the game is there's a lot of illusion and magic and spectacular drama and crazy shenanigans. The players do not know what is real and what is fake, but the sort of tagline is, remember, it's only a game. Scarlet's sister goes off and sort of gets kidnapped as part of this game, and Scarlet has to win in order to win her sister back, which is the whole driving force for the first novel. This is such a hard choice. They're two totally different novels. I really love both of these novels. That's the point, right? I picked books I really enjoyed to make it hard on myself. I think, personally, I'm going to have to drop Perks of Being a Wallflower because I love it, but it's so emotionally hard-hitting that it's not something I want to escape into frequently, and the world of Caraval is definitely one that's got some emotional hits, but is a fun ride nonetheless. So I'm going to save Caraval. Round two. Let's see what books we are picking between next. So, for the first choice, we have Again But Better by Christine Riccio. I have talked about this book recently in my mid-year book free guide tag. I couldn't remember what it's called for a minute. This follows the story of Shane, who is a college student away on a study abroad program, learning to sort of trust in herself and her instincts and speak up for what she wants and what she believes in for the course of her life, as well as sort of growing into who she's meant to become. This is a contemporary novel. I really enjoyed this book. I think it's great for anyone who, like me, wants to be an author one day. It is about a character who wants to write creative stories and novels and express herself to the world in that way. So I really connected with it, but let us see which book it's getting pitted against. We have got The 9 Lives of Chloe King. It follows a young high school girl named Chloe King who learns not only does she have more power within her than she ever expected, but she is heralded as the savior of a magical race of creatures to which she belongs. Chloe sort of has to come to terms with her destiny and who she's meant to be and the person that she is. Like most destinies of this vein, Chloe is meant to keep that part of her life secret from her human friends and family, but like what usually happens, that doesn't work out and it gets revealed and she has to sort of learn to merge her two worlds. Putting these two against each other, we've got a truly contemporary novel following a young writer versus I believe it's set in San Francisco, so we'll call it an urban fantasy, following another young girl emerging on her destiny and following the course of her life and deciding who she wants to be and how she's going to live. So they're similar to a degree, done in different ways. Who to save? I have loved Chloe King much longer than I have loved Again But Better. I have only just read this one, and I read this one a while ago. It's been a long time. I might give it a reread at some point soon. But I love it. I really do. I think the writer in me is going to save Again But Better. It just really... reading Shane was like reading part of myself put down in a novel. I related to her so much. So I think I'm going to save this one. Moving on to round 3, we'll dive right on in. I only have enough books for 5 rounds, so I won't keep you here forever, I promise. We have got Avalon High by Meg Cabot. Avalon High follows our main character Ellie as she moves to a new state as part of her parents' sabbatical. This is a retelling. Essentially, Ellie and all of the kids she meets are reincarnations of King Arthur and his most prestigious, well-known group of followers, people like Merlin, Guinevere, Lancelot, Mordred, etc. Ellie, who is mistaken by the dark side to be somebody who's sort of not a major player in Arthurian legend. She does not affect the course of the story too much, but they end up being wrong, and she is far more important than anyone could have guessed. I absolutely love this book. I have read it so many times. I have only recently acquired the physical copy, but I have read it from the library many times. Then I bought the audiobook and listened to that many times. In fact, I was considering re-listening to it the other day, so that tells you how much I love this book. I love the tale of King Arthur and sort of good triumphing over evil with a little bit of magic and fun thrown in at the side. So whoever's going up against this one is gonna have a hard time duking it out. That's all I'm gonna say. But let's figure out who it's gonna be. Talking about books like they're people. The book going up against Avalon High is Confessions of a Shopaholic. Confessions of a Shopaholic follows Becky Bloomwood, who is a journalist for, I forget what kind of magazine initially, but she ends up being a journalist for a financial magazine. The joke of which is the fact that Becky is up to her eyeballs in debt because she has a shopping problem. It is a really fun, cute, contemporary novel. I love the movie, which I believe I saw first. The novel is super cute. I've also read this one quite a few times. It's one of those ones I like to come back to when I'm in the mood for a feel-good read that's not necessarily too complicated. I think I set up Avalon High well enough for you to know that while I do really enjoy Confessions of a Shopaholic, I'm gonna drop it and Save Avalon High, because I just cannot imagine not having read this book. I'm saving this one, there's no question. Okay, only 4 more books left, which means there's 2 more rounds. Let's move on to round 4 and see who's going up against who. We have got The Body by Stephen King. The Body follows Gordy, Chris, Vern, and Teddy throughout the course of one sort of long weekend over the summer. I believe it's Labor Day weekend. Right before they go back to school, they're getting ready to start sort of middle school, and they go to investigate this rumor that a young boy their age who has gone missing. They hear a rumor that his body is down by the train tracks a couple towns over, and they decide they're going to go and find it and report it to the police and be heroes. It's sort of that misguided, idealistic hope of 12-year-olds that is what jumpstarts their journey. If you don't read Stephen King, you might be more familiar with the movie version, Stand By Me. It is my absolute favorite film. I love it. The book is also probably my... I think it's my absolute favorite book. I have reread this one many a time. I actually have the short story collection, Different Seasons, that it was originally published in. The book just falls open to this story. The book is nearly falling apart. So when they started releasing his novellas in individual bind-ups, I got myself my own copy of this so that I could keep reading it without destroying my other book. Whatever goes up against this one is gonna have a hard battle, just like Avalon High. That is another one of my sort of all-time favorite books. Let's see who goes up against Stephen King. We have got Truly Devious. Again, I have mentioned this series in my mid-year book freakout tag. I mentioned the wrap-up conclusion to this trilogy called The Hand on the Wall, but Truly Devious is the first installment in that series. It follows Stevie Bell as she attends Ellingham Academy for the first time. She gets in on the basis that she will study true crime and, most importantly, study the crimes that occurred at Ellingham Academy in relation to the school's founder. Along the way, as Stevie gets closer to solving that old sort of cold case, more mysterious, dangerous crimes begin to happen at the school, and Stevie, of course, is wrapped up in the middle of it because she's getting too close to something and somebody wants to keep her quiet. I believe I've mentioned that Truly Devious is told in that dual timeline, so you see Stevie's story as she's researching the Ellingham case along with digging for clues in the current affairs that are going on at the school, but you also get to see the sort of Ellingham affair play out more or less in real time as you read through the novel and get those sort of flashbacks to that other timeline. Knowing what I did about it going into it, but reading it, it really blew my mind. I thought each book left off on a great cliffhanger, and the last one really wrapped up questions that you had asked along the way and weren't even sure you were asking. This versus this. Reliable love versus a new love. It hurts me. It hurts me to do it because I love this series, and I think anyone who likes mysteries and YA will also really enjoy it. It's cute and well done. There are some moments that are kind of dark that took me by surprise, but I'm just gonna gently set it. It's a gentle drop. I don't want to drop it too much. I'm gonna save The Body. The final round. I know which 2 books are left because I had my books stacked over here so I could grab them easily, but for the sake of filming, let's show you. We have Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, a classic, quite in the literal sense. It follows the story of Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy as they learn to set aside their pride and prejudice and fall in love. I don't think it's a spoiler. This book has been around for a long time. Most people know this story. It is, how to say it, if you don't like old style classic writing, it's probably not one that you'd want to read through. There's a lot of subtlety because at the time, sort of romance and the way people went about courting one another was very different. It was very subtle. There's none of that outright flirtiness, but there is a ton of wittiness, which I always enjoy. So we have this book versus what I know is my last book in this manga, if I can grab it, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I have read Fangirl a couple times now. First time a couple years ago, and I fell in love with it. This follows the story of Kath in her freshman year of college, where she sort of learns to stand on her own 2 feet. She's always sort of had the support and extrovertedness to fall back on of her twin sister, Ren. And Ren wants to distance herself. She wants to grow. She wants to experience new things. So Kath is sort of forced to befriend her roommate and her roommate's friend and learn to stand on her own and be okay with her introvertedness and her awkwardness. Kath also is a writer. She takes a creative writing course. There's also a lot of contemporary romance cuteness. It's adorable. I really love this book. Kath is another sort of anxious, quirky writer character that I really related to. It's a fun read. I also really relate to Elizabeth Bennet. She's far more extroverted than I am, but she is very much a reader. She values thoughts in books. So as a fellow reader, I can relate. These are 2 books that I really enjoy. This is a more recent love. This is one I have loved since I have first read it in middle school. I'm gonna go with Fangirl. I have read so many novels that I have specifically looked up that are similar to Fangirl. It's a book that really is near and dear to my heart. A few years ago, I had hit a huge reading slump. Fangirl was the first novel I had read in a very long time. I binged it. I think I flew through it in like maybe 2 or 3 days. I could not put it down. I stayed up. I hadn't stayed up late reading in a very long time, but I could not stop reading Fangirl. So I owe Rainbow Rowell in this book a lot. It reawakened my reader heart and got me going again. There you have it, the 5 novels that I chose to save versus the 5 that I chose to drop. That's not to say I don't love those novels, I really do. They were not easy to decide between, some a little bit more than others, but if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like down below. If you want to see me do it again with other books that I have read and enjoyed, let me know by leaving a comment. I will definitely work around getting it. If you have any other videos you want to see from me, let me know down in the comments too. I have a lot of ones I think are fun and I'm going to do them, but I like experiencing new ideas and new thoughts, and the only way to do that is to ask. So if you have some, do let me know. For now, if you would like to keep up with me, and all of my bookish adventures, you can go ahead and click the subscribe button, and you can always ring the little bell so that you don't miss a beat. I'm going to go put these falling books back on the shelves where they live. I will catch you guys next time. Bye!